Special welcome to our keynote speaker, Adrian Go, who I introduce soon, and members of the management at Nkonki, Inc., special guests. Also a word of welcome to Matludi Mpaka, representing the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry, Cooperatives and Marketing in the Kingdom of Lesotho, Honorable Sekulu Mintswale. Ladies and gentlemen, panelists, delegates, even people who are filming this, by the way, who create memories. I have some announcements to make before we start, including that somebody yesterday got too generous and donated an iPad. But just like the public protector didn't know who to give her report to, there was nobody designated to take the iPad home. So the iPad is still here, which is quite an achievement for an iPad to go missing in Sandton and be reunited with the owner. I see the owner has been reunited with the iPad. Did you have withdrawal symptoms? Yeah. We do. The other thing is, you might have seen it on the screens, but please, Nkonki has created the Audit Committee Support Center that you can log on to on the website, nkonki.com. And you go to ACSC, you can register, and from everywhere in the world, you can be able to connect with your fellow auditors. And I must say your fellow auditors, because I'm not counted there. We are running behind a bit, so I'll make my opening remarks very, very brief. Yesterday you had a great day lineup, and you had discussions. You had a lot of technical discussions on recommendations of the delegates at last year's conference and the year before. Some of the additions here today include the simulation. Now, you might have seen in the program that I'm a teacher by training. In teaching, we don't like to use one method, although you might have been traumatized by the chalk, overhead projector, and if you're young enough, maybe data projector. But overall, we like to change methods of delivery. And the simulation might work a whole lot better. And you'll be amazed that even the first keynote speaker, Adrian, has decided to use a different approach to public speaking. So we are really taking this thing a notch up. There are no changes on the program except the one that I mentioned, that the Honorable Minister of Lesotho, that might have been part of the adverts and the invitations, is going to be represented ably by the Director General, Head of Department. Otherwise, we will try and finish in time for the traffic. So the only deliverable that I am responsible for is that we close at 1600 hours. If we miss it, I will say we are operating on Ghanaian time, and we are 2 hours ahead. If we finish early, I will say we are operating on Kenyan time. So we will always be on time. It doesn't matter what we do. That's African time for you. All right. Luckily, I know all the times on the continent, so I can choose which one I'm going with. So to make sure we don't go with the traditional presentation, I'm going to move away from the podium. I'm scared of podiums because my grandmother said I should be a priest, and I didn't listen. So I'll move here to make sure I'm not right wing, I'm not left wing. I'm just in the middle. My opening remark is going to be an example that I'm going to use before I hand over to our esteemed keynote speaker. 9 weeks ago, my wife and I were asked to go and intervene in a family crisis. A niece of mine had made a very startling revelation. In fact, her school had made a startling revelation. She was pregnant. But what was alarming about that, and I'm going to link this to audit committee members, was that her mother found out 10 days before she gave birth that she was pregnant.
That's audit committee.
And she lives with a grandmother. And I'm sure I saw her 2 or 3 times during that pregnancy. And none of us had a clue. Because there's a lot you can hide from people if you keep your hands in the pockets of your nightgown and you wear it throughout the day. And they ask you, why are you wearing a nightgown? You say, I'm in a bad mood. I'm feeling sleepy. She did that very well. Now, I'm using this example because you would have seen in the headlines about babies being left in buckets. And I'm mentioning it because this little girl was contemplating something along those lines if she had not been detected. And how she was detected was the school teacher, where she goes, phoned her mother and said, you know, your daughter has been acting funny lately. I think it's the state she is in. And the mother said, what state is that? She said, well, you didn't know. I had to cut to the chase. She's pregnant. Oh, really? She was contemplating giving up for adoption, but she was also contemplating something much more grim. So what's my point about this? The point is, people like myself who are school teachers by training originally have been in business for quite a while, but we still don't know quite what auditors do. Sometimes I am afraid, I don't think auditors know what they do. And I'll tell you why I say this, and then I'll hand over to the... If we can have a little girl who goes around living in somebody's house for 280 days minus, say, 25, undetected. And this is the child you've raised. She's 16, but she manages to pull wool over your eyes for 280 days, give or take. I read reports every day, annual reports, and I see something like unqualified opinion, clean audit. And I won't even want to talk about the clean audits in public sector. I still want to talk about Enron, though, because Enron had a very good story of somebody wearing a gown for 280 days, give or take, and hiding a lot of crime from able auditors. Right? And I can mention the name of the firm because it went with the crime, right? Kenneth Lay, Jeff Skilling were known for saying something that amounted to a child in a bad mood refusing to get out of a gown for the whole day, 7 days a week. He was known to say this, and that's my party line when I deal with auditors. I don't get it. I don't understand. And that's the problem that I think audit committee members are scared to ask. I don't understand. Because when you're at a dinner table at the Michelangelo, and people like us fast talking our works in lyrical about this business, how it's going, we're going to take the world by storm. We're going to penetrate Africa, starting with the regional hub and spoke model in West Africa, and we're going to go into East Africa, and we're going to conquer, we're going to dominate this, we're going to do this. We speak in big English. You don't want to be the one to say, hang on, what did you mean by dominate? Because I'll look at you and say, dominate, as in dominate. And you'll feel even more dumb, right? So in an audit committee meeting, I don't know what happens out there, but I suspect you don't want to be the one when people are using AC this and IASB this and that, and you say, by the way, what is that? Nobody wants to be the one to say, I don't get it. And that's why I can walk around in my gown and say, I'm in a bad mood, don't bother me, until I am 10 days to give him birth. And then you'll discover the baby in a bucket anyway by the side of the road. And that's what happens, isn't it, when people uncover crime in governance. People get dumped on the side of the road, literally.